Hello, this is old Mr. Kent of MrKent.com, and I've been telling my life story. I'm 82 years old, and if you haven't been following, if you're new to the channel, if you click at the end of the video, if you click on life story, there's a link there, then you can get all caught up. Right now I'm in 1986, and in the last video, I was taking flight instructions, so in this video, I will tell you that I passed the tests with flying colors. Flying colors. Oops, I better put this on. Maybe I'm okay. I may not need that. Okay. So anyway, I passed the test with flying colors, as I said. And if you like pun jokes, well then there's my brother, who I already spoke of in previous videos, who got his pilot license several years before I got mine. And so when I got mine, then we decided we should probably call ourselves, because we're both a little crazy, we should probably call ourselves the Not Quite Right Brothers. All right, I'll leave it at that, and let's get started. All right, so I had my license, and I had a good friend. He had a Cessna 140, which is it's a tail dragger, and that's called conventional landing gear. And so he wanted me to go flying with him to Moose Creek, Idaho. That's up in the mountains of Idaho, and it's a ranger station, and there's an airstrip there, and you can camp out and all that kind of stuff. And so that sounded like fun to me. And so before, I hadn't been licensed 2 weeks, I don't think. And so we took off on that. Well, first of all, I took my son, who is now the guy that where I'm living, on his property. And then my friend, he took his son. They were both about the same age, trying to load up camping gear and fishing gear in Cessna 150. That was interesting. Had almost break the fishing pole in order to get it crowded into the cab, because a 150 is not very. I had a Cessna 150. I forgot to tell you that. So if you haven't been following my channel. So anyway, got to go around a little sharp corner here. I think we'll be okay. So then, as it turned out, we took off, and you have to fly from Pasco. Pasco, Washington is where we were living. And so you have to fly east, and you go past Lewiston, Idaho. I can't remember if we stopped there to refuel, but in later flights, I always stopped there to refuel. Anyway, so we excuse me, took off, and I was new at flying, and so when we got over into the mountains where the ranger station was, it was down in a deep valley, and I got some pictures to kind of help you. These aren't mine. I got these off the internet. But anyway, he told me to stay up at the level of the peaks, and then he would go down into the valley, make sure that the airstrip was clear to land, because he'd been there before. So I flew around up above, and then he said, it's okay, clear, come on down and land. So so I brought it down, and we came down and landed just fine on a grass field. Now I gotta tell you, it's a lot more fun landing on a grass field than it is landing on a pavement field. So anyway, and my instructor, I'll give you more information later. My instructor had taught me how to take off on a grass field. And he said, you just get going and you pull the nose as high as you can off the ground, so it's not into the bumps and stuff like that. And so, and remember, now I had a tricycle gear, which rocks back and forth on the rear wheels. So we land, and there's all kinds of stuff. I'll put some pictures up. It actually is where two rivers come together, the Moose Creek, and then I can't remember the name of the other one. I should probably look it up, and if I find it, I'll put it on the video. Anyway, so they come together, and oh man, I'm lost here. Anyway, and so it's and of course you can go fishing and everything, and so we just had fun, and they had I mean, when we went there, it was not very many people had been there before, and then since then somebody has said, in a flying magazine, you got to go check this out. And so nowadays, if you go, there's all kinds of planes parked there over the weekend, and it's not like it was. But there was, like for instance, there was a plane that had crashed trying to take off. Now I can put these on. And it was at the end of the runway where you would normally take off, and it had been laying there for years. So the canvas, or the canvas. The skin had been rotted off. It was just the frame, but there was also the radio gear was still there, all rusted up and everything. And then, of course, later on when you go back again, well, somebody's gone up there with a hacksaw and taken what they wanted and left just scraps. So anyway, that was kind of sad. And then also, what you would call the dump for the ranger station, it was a spot where it was just straight down. You go throw your stuff over and it'll go straight down. Well, there had also been a Ford Trimotor. That was one of the old airplanes that had landed there. That's an old field. It's been used for years for smoke jumpers and stuff. And so a Ford Trimotor had crashed there. And so the parts to the Ford Trimotor were laying at the bottom of that dump. So we went down. Of course, you got to go down on a rope. I mean, and then whatever you're going to get, you got to kind of tie it to your body and climb back up again. It was an exciting thing. So anyway, and the two boys had a lot of fun fishing and just being down by the rivers. And they had bridges across each of the rivers, and I think it's a 14-mile hike to get there, and is from the nearest starting point. And so a lot of hikers go in there and camp and stuff, and also because of the current and the waves and the rocks and stuff, folks will go down there in in rubber boats, great big rubber boats full of people. They come down through there a lot, and so anyway, it's kind of a popular place now. It wasn't back years ago when the first time that we went. So as it turns out, then we had a wonderful time, and I can't remember what day we went up, but we had to go back on a Saturday. Now, and if you remember from my last video, they taught me how to file a flight plan, okay? And flight plan says I'm going to go from this airport to that airport, and then you file it over the phone, and then people, if you don't show up when you're supposed to, then they send out search parties for you. So, dumb me, we were going into the mountains and staying all night, and then coming back out. And so I filed what is called a round-robin flight plan. In other words, we're leaving on Thursday, and we're coming back, and we'll be home by 4 o'clock or so on Saturday. So, so Saturday came, and it was a nice morning, but as time went by, it started clouding up, and getting more and more unlikely for flying And my son told me, he said, I didn't remember this because I was busy, but we were packing the planes so we could get out of there before a thunderstorm came. And they were dancing around the fire that we had, trying to do a rain dance to get it to stop raining, but it was coming. So then we got all packed up. And by the way, this was in April of 1986, and they had not mowed the field. I don't know how they do it, but anyway, so the grass was like between a foot and 2 feet high, all over the field. And so when we hiked, we had to hike through that. So so then when it came time to take off, grass field, like I was taught to take off. Only thing is, my instructor gave me all my teaching on a paved field. And he said, you just pull the nose up as far as you can and get that nose off the ground. And I don't know out there, I suppose I can try to go around that corner. No, I don't think I'm going to go around that corner. That's going to be kind of tough. So I'll go up, there's a little park here. We'll go into that park. So anyway, I knew what I was supposed to do. Well, by the time we got ready to go, it was pouring down rain. And the field, the strip where we landed, there's actually 2 strips there. The strip where we landed, in order to take off into the wind, you had to you had to take off uphill. Now, that's what I thought back then, okay? In fact, taking off the other way was a little tricky for a new pilot anyway. So the plan was he would take off first, you take off uphill into the wind, and then I would take off after he did. And so now remember, he had what's called a tail dragger, and so they're made for mountain flying. Okay, a tricycle landing gear plane is not made for mountain work, but that's what I had. So he took off, and then he told me it's okay for me to take off. It's pouring down rain. You can't see hardly anything. The windshield is covered with water, and so we go. I taxi to the far end of the runway, so I have plenty of runway, and give it full power, and pull up on the nose. And so, in the tall grass, the tall wet grass, I'm going along, and things are going by fast, but they're not going by fast enough. The plane is not wanting to take off, and so I thought, well, this isn't going to work. And the end of the runway was coming up, the end where the other plane had crashed, trying to take off, and so I finally decided, well, this isn't going to work. So I lowered the nose down a little bit, and here we have a dog. Anyway, I lowered the nose down a little bit, and it started going faster. Good morning. Good morning. And so going a little faster and a little faster, and finally I got the wheels off the ground, but I was still in what they call ground effect. I don't know if I need to take time to explain ground effect, but ground effect is until you get off the ground about 10 feet or so, you got lots of lift that you don't have once you get up above that. So I was actually going in ground effect, and the end of the runway was coming, and still going uphill into the wind, and the end of the runway was coming, and so then of course, my son had no idea how much danger we were in. You don't fly a plane in a thunderstorm. But we had to get back. I forgot to tell you why, because otherwise, since I was dumb enough to file a round robin flight plan, we had to get up in the air so I could cancel it, on the radio. So that was the hurry. That was the rush. Forgot to tell you that. And so here comes somebody on a scooter. I'll just pull over. Morning. And so anyway, that's why we had to hurry. I should have told you that. Okay, so anyway, the end of the runway comes, and I'm still in ground effect. And so let me just give you a little picture here. So here's the runway, and then here it drops down. This is where that other plane crashed. And so I'm going along. I'm in ground effect. It's like I'm still on the runway. And as I come to the end of the runway, then the ground effect disappears, and I start dropping down. And it's a terrible feeling because you're dropping down on top of fir trees. And the funny thing is when you look at the let me pull over a little bit. There, he's going to be okay. Here comes somebody else. Kind of busy this morning. Good morning. And so I remember looking down, and those fir trees looked like swords. That's what they reminded me of, because they were pointing straight up at us. So get around this corner here. Come on, go, 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 go. Use my throttle. Okay. All right. So the fir trees looked like swords as I was coming closer and closer to them. But as I was dropping, because the edge of the ground was dropping behind me, then I was picking up speed, and so I got enough speed that we could actually fly. Now remember, this whole time, believe it or not, this whole time it's pouring down rain, and you can hardly see it out the front. But I was climbing, and so finally I got high enough, and my buddy, he was trying to call me on the radio, but I was too busy trying to keep from crashing. And so he was calling me on the radio, and finally I answered him, and then he kind of scolded me like, "Why didn't you answer?" Oh man, I tell you what. So anyway, so I said, well, we just barely got off the ground over there. So we made it home okay. I was able to cancel my flight plan, and my son still remembers that camping trip because we spent a lot of time. Moose Creek, oops, looks like I'm running out of time here. Moose Creek has the ranger station has a logbook of all the things that have happened up there, and I spent a lot of time looking at that. In fact, over the years, I went back several times and camped and read that logbook. There was just a lot of history with that place. So anyway, now the one thing I got to tell you is my brother, when he came over to see me, and I invited him over to fly my plane. He came over, and while he was there over the weekend, he drove over with his family, and so while he was there, we did a lot of flying, and I had him do all the flying because I wanted him to get, he had, every time he wanted to go flying, he had to rent a plane. And so by the time, this is getting to be a long video. By the time that he got over there, I can't remember. When he came over, I'd already been flying for about a year when he finally came over, and I had 300 hours in that first year of flying. That's almost an hour a day. And so he came over, I can't remember how many hours. He'd had his license for several years, and it was ridiculous. He had 27 hours or something like that. So I let him fly my plane all he wanted. And then in the next video, I'll go into how we solved that problem. And I'm sorry this one's going so long, but that's how it was. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching my videos, and God bless.